Welcome back. The government shutdown now enters day 16 as the Senate fails to advance the GOP-backed clean continuing resolution for a 9th time yesterday. Democrats are already poised to reject it again when they vote again this morning for the 10th time. My sources are telling me that they are waiting for Saturday's No Kings rally in Washington before any movement is made so that they can discuss fighting Trump. Party leaders trading shots on Capitol Hill yesterday, blaming one another for the shutdown. Meanwhile, the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, remaining concerned about keeping service members paid while the doors stay closed in Washington. Watch.
Not a good day on Capitol Hill, not a good day across America, because real Americans are feeling the pain due to the Democrats' political nonsense. One segment of the population that truly deserves better treatment than the Democrats are giving them, and that is our military. Today, if it weren't for the bold leadership of President Trump helping us to protect our military, everyone needs to understand that 1.3 million active duty service members would be missing a paycheck. And by the way, all other federal employees, federal workers, and the Democrats have voted over and over to stop it. It also shows a very strong contrast between the party that is working for the people and trying to keep the government open and do the right thing, and the party that is engaging in all this nonsense.
Joining me now is the former Speaker of the House and Fox News contributor, Newt Gingrich. Mr. Speaker, a pleasure. Always nice to see you. Thank you for being here. Give us your impact and analysis on this government shutdown.
Well, I think the Democrats have decided on a strategy, partly to prove to their more left-wing elements that they're tough, that they're going to stand up to President Trump. And frankly, if you saw Schumer's comment the other day that every day it gets better, you can tell he's not talking about the families that aren't getting paid, the people who don't have money, the programs that aren't going forward. This is a very narrow and I think dangerous position for the Democrats to be in, because you end up ultimately, the Republicans have passed a clean continuing resolution to keep the government open, came out of the House, has no problems, except the Democrats just said no. And you have to ask yourself, if they're willing to talk about issues after the government reopens, and they clearly, Senator Thune, Speaker Johnson, President Trump, are willing to talk after the government comes open, why is Schumer keeping the government closed? And I think ultimately this is bad for the country. And ultimately, it's bad for the Democratic Party.
And that's really where the issue is. I mean, if it's bad for the country, will the Republicans have to cave at some point and say, well, we'll do a temporary subsidies return or something to come to the middle, because President Trump is not going to accept this government shutdown for, I mean, how long can this go before somebody blinks?
Well, I think when he was president the first time, that went a pretty long time. I think the president and the director of the budget, Russ Vought, are using this opportunity to reshape the federal government, to cut out various projects in Democratic states, and to shrink the government. So I'm not so sure that President Trump feels the heat. He went to the Middle East for an extraordinary trip that was historic. He's going to go to Korea for another key trip. He's staying very busy. If you watch his schedule, it's amazing how many things he does. And I don't sense that for him, his personal activities aren't shut down and they're not inconvenienced. At some point, it becomes a challenge. And I think that Speaker Johnson's right to point out that, everyday folks are going to get hurt.
Yeah.
There are people out there right now who would like to go to work. I have a good friend who's a research scientist. She can't go to her laboratory. It's driving her crazy.
Yeah.
And I think eventually we'll find a solution, but I don't think it'll be caving into the Democrats' demands.
Yeah, no, I agree. And at some point, markets are going to start worrying as well. Don't forget, we just came off of a great quarter for the banks with capital markets activity soaring, IPOs, deals in the pipeline, but there's a ton more in the pipeline. And right now, they can't file for an IPO. They can't go forward on these deals because the Securities and Exchange Commission is closed. So, at some point, it becomes a real issue in terms of the economy as well. So we'll see about that. But you're right. I mean, President Trump has been working and working hard. He's got this peace deal, a massive achievement there. And he's going to South Korea and Seoul to discuss what's happening with China, with Xi Jinping on the sidelines of the APEC summit. What do you see as the breaking point here in terms of the China relationship? Are you worried that these aggressions are spiking again?
Well, I'm not worried in the sense that I think, look, there's an inevitable competition between a rising China that wants to be a world power and the dominant world power. This is, historically, we've seen it happen before. Wilhelmine Germany rising against the British Empire, for example. It can lead ultimately to war, which would be a disaster, or it can lead to learning how to manage the conflict. I think that the president is confident that ultimately, economically, we have a much stronger hand than China does. And frankly, the Chinese are teaching us what we need to do, for example, with rare earth minerals in getting mines in the U.S., Canada, Australia, other places. Over time, the Chinese are playing a losing hand, and I think that the president knows that, and I don't think he's inclined, again, much like with dealing with Schumer, he's not inclined to back down in dealing with Xi Jinping because he thinks he has a stronger hand.
Meanwhile, the dirty tricks keep on coming. I mean, you would think that everybody on both sides of the aisle agrees with what you just said, but House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan is demanding that former special counsel Jack Smith testify before his committee over the prosecutions of President Trump and the surveillance of numerous GOP senators' phones. I mean, they tapped the phones of Republicans. Jordan writes this to Smith: "Your team sought to silence President Trump by restricting his public statements about the case. These actions undermined the integrity of the criminal justice system and violated the core responsibility of federal prosecutors to do justice. Your testimony is necessary to understand the full extent to which the Biden-Harris Justice Department weaponized federal law enforcement." Newt, we spoke with Bill Hagerty, the Tennessee senator, who was actually one of those senators. 8 Republicans who's had their phones tapped by Jack Smith. Watch this.
It's not the first time it's happened to me either, Maria. It happened to me when I was, again, in Trump's first election. I was a finance chair. I went into Trump Tower to help him in 2016 after the election. We were surveilled there. I think you may remember Michael Flynn was taken out through that process. Again, this was an Obama-era surveillance. Now, this time in the Biden administration, they've decided to surveil 8 senators and a Republican congressman. The one thing we all have in common is that we're Republicans. And I guess my crime must be that I've been an ally of President Trump for years and served in his administration. So it's just shocking that this would happen, that they would surveil our calls, that Jack Smith, just after putting President Trump under indictment, decides to come after his allies in the United States Senate. It's in a letter to Verizon, the carrier, on Friday, demanding that they let me know why they'd done this. They said that they were operating under a subpoena.
So in other words, the Democrats sent a subpoena to Verizon and forced them to release the records.
That's what that seems to be the case, according to Verizon's response to my query. So I want to find out exactly who it was that had that issued, who was working for Jack Smith, what the pretext was. There was no pretext. It was just that we were allies of President Trump.
That's pretty extraordinary, Newt.
Well, look, I mean, Jack Smith is a peculiarly bad lawyer. He had 9 justices unanimously repudiate what he did in trying to destroy a Republican governor about a decade ago. 9. When you get a 9-0 vote saying that you're guilty of having broken the law, the very fact that they would keep him in the Justice Department and the fact that they would appoint him to do this is a sign of willful bad faith, because Jack Smith is a very vicious prosecutor who has broken the law, been repudiated by the Supreme Court, should never have been in this position. And we're going to discover that he did a lot of things that were illegal, and that he's probably personally at risk now of being indicted and convicted for things that clearly broke the law.
Wow. Meanwhile, let me switch gears to the New York City race for mayor. Zohran Mamdani joined Martha McCallum in Fox Studios yesterday. He refused to give any credit to President Trump for brokering the peace deal in the Middle East. Watch this.
Would you give President Trump credit or not, to any extent? Credit or not?
I think it's too early to do so.
Too early to say.
But if it proves to be something that is lasting, something that is durable, then I think that's where you give credit. I am thankful, and I have hope that it will actually endure and that it will be lasting. And I continue to have concerns because I've seen reports still, just this in the last few days, that 5 Palestinians were killed by the Israeli military. And that's what gives me pause about issuing any kind of praise or celebration at a moment when it is still so in its infancy.
Unbelievable. Newt, your reaction?
Well, I mean, if it shows you how radical Mamdani is, what we have is video of Hamas executing people in the streets of Gaza, seeking to reclaim power and literally lining people up, having them on their knees and shooting them in the back of their head.
Wow.
That's on video from yesterday. You know, it's clear that Hamas is in danger of breaking up the whole thing. The president has indicated strongly that if Hamas goes this route, that he will back up, literally going in and destroying them. There are 8,000 or 9,000 Hamas terrorists who want to reclaim control of Gaza. They're going to lose. That was the real meaning of the meeting at Sharm el-Sheikh, where you had 27 countries signing up. And my hunch is you're going to see a remarkable support for getting to a peaceful region. And Hamas now is sort of a last stand. But we shouldn't kid ourselves. Hamas is very dangerous. They have not given in completely. And that's still a very dangerous area. But look, Mamdani is about as left-wing and out of touch with reality as any major candidate we've seen. And I think you're going to discover in the debate tonight, this guy is, you know, President Trump calls him a communist. I would say he's a big government socialist with weird ideas. But having him as a leading Democrat is going to become a nightmare for the Democratic Party.
Yeah, well, we'll watch that debate tonight. President Trump, meanwhile, had a beautiful ceremony yesterday awarding Charlie Kirk the Presidential Medal of Freedom on what would have been his 32nd birthday. Your reaction?
Well, look, it's such a tragedy. Charlie was a great person. I remember we were at the National Convention and I did his show talking about the effort to assassinate President Trump. And I look back on that, and we have some pictures from that. And I did his show many times. He was just an astonishing, charismatic leader who had, I think, 3,300 chapters on high schools and college campuses. And it was a tragedy that he was assassinated, and as a sign of how dangerous things are. I'm delighted that his widow, Erica, is continuing his work, and I'm delighted that President Trump and Vice President Vance have been so publicly supportive.
Newt, congratulations to your wife, Ambassador, our best regards, and thank you very much for joining us this morning.
Great.
Newt Gingrich, stay with us. We'll be right back.